It started on a rainy Tuesday morning, when Elijah Brooks stood outside the glass tower of Sterling Dynamics, clutching his old leather portfolio, his reflection rippling in the puddles below. The building claimed to stand for innovation, integrity, and impact, but to him, it looked like a fortress of exclusion. He'd been turned away before, judged by tone, by name, by color. Before we start, hit that like and subscribe button, then comment where you're watching from. Your support keeps these powerful stories coming. But this time, he promised himself he would walk out. Seen inside the marble lobby, the receptionist barely looked up, her voice crisp. She asked, "Elijah Brooks, here for the project management interview?" She smiled politely, without warmth. "Have a seat." The air smelled of cold coffee and polish. Minutes later, the CEO himself, Richard Sterling, appeared, tall, graying temples, every inch the man who'd never been told no. His handshake was firm, his eyes sharper. "Follow me, Mr. Brooks." The interview room was made of glass walls and quiet judgment. Sterling sat back, flipping through Elijah's resume. "Top of your class, MIT. Impressive," he said slowly, "but we like people who fit our image. Our clients expect a certain look, a certain culture." Elijah frowned. "I believe professionalism isn't about how you look, but what you deliver." Sterling chuckled. "You're ambitious, I'll give you that. But let's be realistic, our investors might not connect with you. You wouldn't last a week." Elijah felt that sting, but stayed calm. "I believe belonging is earned through contribution, not permission." Sterling's smile faded. "Business is built on legacy and connection, not just talent. You have neither." Elijah stood, straightened his tie. "Thank you for your time, sir." Sterling smirked. "Good luck out there, maybe try someplace smaller, more suited to your background." Elijah nodded. "Maybe I will. Or maybe I'll see you sooner than you think." When the door closed behind him, Sterling barely looked up. "Another one who doesn't fit," he muttered. But 2 days later, in the company's glass boardroom, fate was about to flip the script. The board meeting began, Sterling greeting executives like a king in his castle, until the door opened. The chairman entered, Raymond Brooks, the company's founder and Sterling's mentor. Behind him, a young man in a navy suit stepped in, calm, collected. "Good morning, everyone," said Raymond. "I'd like to introduce someone special, my son, Elijah." Sterling froze mid-smile. Elijah nodded politely. "Good morning, pleasure to be here." The air went still as realization hit like thunder. Sterling stammered. "I didn't realize." Elijah met his gaze evenly. "No, sir. You didn't." Raymond smiled. "Elijah will be joining us as Director of Strategic Innovation, overseeing fairness and diversity initiatives." Sterling's jaw tightened. "Wonderful news," he forced a grin. Elijah smiled faintly. "You once told me legacy matters. I guess you were right, mine just started deeper than you thought." Laughter rippled through the boardroom. Elijah wasn't done, though. He set a recorder on the table. Sterling's voice filled the air. "Our clients wouldn't relate to you, you wouldn't last a week." Gasps spread across the room. Sterling's face drained. Raymond's tone turned sharp. "Richard, explain yourself." Sterling stuttered. "That's taken out of context." Elijah said softly, "Context is everything, so is character." The chairman's verdict was swift. "Richard Sterling, you're suspended pending investigation. We won't tolerate this in my company." Security stepped forward. Sterling's face twisted with fury. "You think you belong here? You never will." Elijah's tone was calm. "That's what they said before people like me started owning the room." Sterling was escorted out. The man who once measured worth by color now stood powerless in a sea of witnesses. After the meeting, Raymond placed a hand on Elijah's shoulder. "Proud of you, son. You handled that with grace." Elijah nodded. "I didn't want revenge, I wanted truth." His father smiled. "Sometimes truth is revenge enough." Elijah walked out the same glass doors that once denied him, now open under his command. The city lights shimmered against the night sky as he whispered to himself, "Maybe I did belong all along." His phone buzzed, a new message from an unknown number. "You think you won. You have no idea what Sterling built. Check your father's files." Elijah froze, the elevator doors slid shut, his reflection flickering in the metal panels. The narrator's voice faded in. "They tried to deny him opportunity, now he owns the boardroom. But when power changes hands, so do the secrets that built it." The next morning, the city woke under silver clouds. Elijah Brooks stood by his father's study door, hearing the soft hum of the grandfather clock inside. Raymond Brooks sat at his mahogany desk, papers spread like a storm. Elijah stepped in slowly. "Dad, what did he mean, check your files?" Raymond didn't look up, just rubbed his temple. "Nothing that concerns you, son. The company's history is complicated." Elijah frowned. Complicated how? Raymond sighed. Sterling may have said terrible things, but he wasn't always wrong about one thing: power attracts secrets. Elijah studied his father's eyes, the same eyes that used to read bedtime stories, now guarded like vault doors. He walked to the filing cabinet, tried the top drawer, locked. Raymond stood sharply. I said leave it alone. Elijah's jaw tightened. You taught me to face truth, not hide from it. Raymond's tone dropped. This isn't about truth, it's about survival. Elijah left the room, heart pounding. Outside, rain started to fall again, like the day of the interview. He pulled out his phone, opened the anonymous text. Another message appeared: don't trust your father, check the Cayman account listed under Brooks Legacy LLC. Elijah's stomach dropped. He knew Sterling was corrupt, but his father? That couldn't be. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that someone wanted him to find this. He returned to the office later that evening, the building quiet, the lights dim. He entered the CEO's suite that used to belong to Sterling and booted up his computer. His hands trembled as he typed the account name, Brooks Legacy LLC. The screen loaded slowly, then a list of transactions appeared, millions transferred offshore years ago, some marked with initials RS and RB, his father's name beside Sterling's. Elijah whispered, no way. Suddenly, the lights flickered, a low beep echoed from his phone. Unknown number, I told you it was bigger than you think. Meet me tonight at Pier 47. Come alone. Elijah's heart raced. He looked at the time, 11:32 p.m. He grabbed his coat and left, driving through the rain, the wipers slicing through the darkness. His mind spun with questions. Was Sterling framed? Were his father and Sterling partners once? He reached the pier, the fog was thick, waves slapping the docks. A shadowed figure stood near the edge, wearing a long coat. Elijah approached slowly. Who are you? The man turned slightly, voice deep and steady. You don't know me, son, but I knew your mother. Elijah froze, throat dry. My mother, she died when I was 5. The man nodded softly. That's what they told you. She was Sterling's first whistleblower before she disappeared. Elijah's chest tightened. What do you mean, before she disappeared? The man glanced over his shoulder, footsteps echoed from the darkness, heavy, deliberate. He whispered, they found us. Run. Elijah turned, but it was too late. Headlights cut through the fog, a black SUV screeched to a stop, doors flung open, men in suits stepped out. One shouted, get him. Elijah bolted into the mist, his phone slipped from his hand, splashing into the water behind him. The last thing he heard was the man's voice shouting, they know who you are. Elijah, run before it's too late. Rain pounded against the metal docks as Elijah ran, his shoes splashing through puddles, heart slamming in his chest. The fog made everything look ghostly, shapes shifting, footsteps echoing from everywhere. He ducked behind a shipping crate, breath trembling. From the distance, he heard voices, fan out. He can't get far. Their flashlights cut through the mist like knives. He looked toward the water, cold waves crashed below. He had no phone, no weapon, and no one to trust. His father's signature on those offshore accounts burned in his mind. Raymond Brooks, the man who built the company Elijah had admired all his life, now tied to Sterling's corruption, and possibly to his mother's death. Elijah's pulse quickened as he whispered to himself, what did you do, Dad? He crawled along the shadows, then saw a faint light, an old boathouse, half collapsed at the edge of the pier. He ran toward it, ducking inside as bullets cracked behind him. The man from before, the one who claimed to know his mother, was there, slumped against a wall, bleeding from his side. Elijah knelt beside him. Who are you? The man coughed, gripping his chest. Name's Calvin. I worked with your mom back when she was investigating Sterling. She found out the company was laundering government funds through shell accounts overseas. Your father tried to stop her, but when she wouldn't, they made it look like an accident. Elijah froze. His stomach turned cold. You're saying, my dad had her killed? Calvin's eyes flickered. No. He didn't pull the trigger, but he signed the papers that made it possible. I tried to protect her, but they came for both of us. I went underground. But when Sterling started bragging again, I knew you needed to know the truth. Before Elijah could respond, headlights cut through the cracks in the boathouse walls. Men shouted outside. Calvin grabbed Elijah's arm. Listen to me, in my pocket, there's a flash drive. Everything your mother found, everything they buried. Take it to the press. Don't trust anyone else, not even your father. Elijah reached into Calvin's pocket, pulled out the small drive, and nodded. I'll finish what she started. Calvin smiled faintly, eyes closing as he whispered, she'd be proud of you. Then the door burst open, agents stormed in, shouting. Elijah dove through a side window, crashing into the mud below. Pain shot through his shoulder, but he didn't stop. He sprinted toward the city lights in the distance, sirens wailing behind him. By dawn, he was back in his apartment, soaked and shaking. He plugged the drive into his laptop. Files opened, secret memos, signed agreements, payments tied to political figures. But what stunned him most were the photos: his mother, smiling beside Sterling and Raymond, labeled Project Ascend. The caption read, Pilot Program, Corporate-Led Development, Phase 1. Authorization, Raymond Brooks, CEO. Elijah's eyes filled with tears. Mom, what did they do to you? He clicked a video file. His mother's face appeared on screen, shaky footage recorded in an office. If you're seeing this, she said, voice trembling, then I couldn't stop them. Sterling and Raymond are laundering money through children's education grants. They think no one will notice. If something happens to me, promise me, whoever finds this, expose them. Elijah covered his mouth, his body shaking with rage. I promise. He copied the files, encrypted them, and sent them to 3 major news outlets anonymously. Then, as he shut the laptop, he heard a faint click from behind him. Don't move, said a familiar voice. Elijah turned slowly. His father stood in the doorway, dressed in a black coat, holding a silenced pistol. You've caused a lot of trouble, son. Elijah stared at him, eyes red. You knew. You were part of it. Raymond's expression was unreadable. You don't understand. Your mother went too far. She was going to destroy everything, our family, our future. Elijah's voice broke. She wanted justice. Raymond's hand trembled slightly on the gun. Justice doesn't feed thousands of employees. It doesn't keep the company alive. You traded truth for power, Elijah said, stepping closer. You killed her dreams to save your greed. Raymond's eyes hardened. You think you're the hero here? You leaked classified data, you just doomed us all. Elijah shook his head. No, Dad. I freed us. Suddenly, sirens blared outside, red and blue lights flooded through the window. Raymond glanced toward them, panic flashing across his face. What did you do? Elijah raised his phone, showing the news headlines already breaking. Legacy CEO Raymond Brooks and late CFO Sterling Haynes implicated in international money laundering scandal. Raymond's face fell. You betrayed me. Elijah's voice was calm now. No, Dad. You betrayed Mom. You betrayed all of us. The front door burst open, FBI agents stormed in. Drop the weapon, they shouted. Raymond hesitated, then slowly lowered the gun, eyes locked on Elijah. You'll regret this, he said quietly, as they cuffed him and led him away. Elijah watched in silence, tears streaming down his face. Hours later, Elijah stood outside the building as dawn broke again, but this time, it wasn't raining. The sun rose golden over the city skyline. A female reporter approached him. Mr. Brooks, is it true you exposed your own father's crimes? Elijah looked down for a moment, then met her gaze. I didn't expose my father. I revealed the truth my mother died for. She believed light always finds its way through darkness. She was right. As he walked away, his phone buzzed again, an unknown number. The text read, You did well. But there's more you don't know. Project Ascend wasn't just about money. Elijah froze, staring at the screen. Who is this? He typed. No reply came. Then another message appeared, Meet me at the old factory on Hillcrest. Midnight. She'd want you to see this. Elijah's breath caught in his throat. The wind picked up around him, rustling the pages of the news article in his hand. He looked toward the horizon, where thunderclouds began to form again. He whispered, Mom, what did you start? Sometimes justice doesn't end with the truth, sometimes it only begins there. And when blood and power mix, the real war is just getting started. The end. Comment below if you know you enjoyed the story. Also don't forget to follow, subscribe and turn on the notification button for more stories coming up.